Alright, so hello everyone. Welcome to the third session on Active Directory Pentest. The last couple of sessions we have taken an overview of what Active Directory is. We have taken a look at the different components of an Active Directory, and in the second session we have taken a look at how to set up a domain controller for our Active Directory Pentest. Now in this video we are primarily going to focus on three things. 1. Setting up our user machines. 2. We will set up users, groups and some policies on our domain controller. And 3. We will join our user machines to the domain. So let's get started. So as before, the first thing would be to go to Google and search for Microsoft Evaluation Center. We will click on the first link, scroll down, click on Windows 10 Enterprise because that's what we want to download. This 90 days expiration date does not mean that the service will be stopped after 90 days. It just means that it's going to notify us after 90 days. So that's all right. We will click on ISO Enterprise and give continue. Now here we can specify some details. I will just go with some random details. Okay, we can click on continue. Now I will select 64-bit platform. We will select English for the language and we can click on download. Now I have already downloaded the ISO file, so you can pause the video here and go download your ISO file and continue with me. Alright, so now we're back to VMware Workstation 15 player. We'll create a new virtual machine, browse for our ISO file. Could not detect which operating system is in this disk image. That's alright, we will specify it manually. Click here, go to version and we will click on Windows 10 x64. Click on next, again next. Now we will click on split virtual disk into multiple files as before in the domain controller session, and we will do finish. Okay, so yes, our Windows 10 x64 has appeared. Now we will do some edit virtual machine settings. So we have to check if all the configurations default are alright with us. So everything looks good. We can go ahead and click OK. We will start up the virtual machine. Get your trigger fingers ready. Alright. So we will wait for the Windows workstation to start up. Okay, we will leave the language, time, currency, format and keyboard to its defaults and click on install now. So we will wait for the setup to get over. Alright, let's accept the license terms and click on next. Custom installation as before. We will create new partition and give apply. Click on OK. So yes, the partitions have come. Click on next. And let us wait for Windows to get installed. Alright, so we are on this. Let's start with region. Is this right page? I will just keep the defaults going. Yes. Skip. We will allow it to do some more setup. Alright, so now we are on the sign in with Microsoft page. Alright, So we will click on domain join instead. Let's call this Frank Castle because, as I mentioned in my previous videos, this entire theme of Active Directory is going to be set up on Marvel. So let's go for the Punisher. Alright. So click on Frank Castle and we will click on next. Let's give Frank Castle a password. Click on next. Confirm the password. Now we will choose a random set of security questions with random answers. Childhood nickname, well, Bobo. And another one. Name of the city where your parents met, well, let's keep it Bib. We will set all of these to no, 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 no. Alright, click on accept. No. Let Cortana help you, no. Alright, so after a long wait, we are finally here. We have successfully installed our Windows user machine. So let's give it a few minutes to set up. Okay, so yes, our Windows is set up. We will full screen. Oh damn, we do not have it on full screen. So as usual, we will go on player, manage, install VMware tools. Wait for the installation to happen. Click on DVD, run setup 64.exe. Yes. Click on next, complete, next, install. Alright, so once this is done and we are able to full screen, our first step is going to be to go and change the name of our computer. I'm going to name my computer the Punisher and let it reboot so that the updates happen accordingly. Click on finish. Let's not restart and try without restarting to full screen. And yippee, we have managed to full screen it again. Alright, so let's click on this and actually, you know what, let's just type it out. View your PC name. Rename this PC. We will rename it to the Punisher, and we will click on next. We will click on restart now. Let the VM restart. Alright, so as said before, we are going to be using two user machines and domain join them both to a single domain. So I'm going to recommend that you pause the video right here and you can now go ahead and try to set up another user machine in the same way. In the coming forward sessions, I have set up another user with the name Peter Parker as opposed to Frank Castle, and the computer's name is going to be Spider-Man. Alright. So let's log in into Frank Castle. Alright, so once the other user machine is done, we will perform some more setup on our Active Directory, and then we will join both these user machines to our domain so that we can start attacking the Active Directory. Now let's go to our domain controller. I'm just going to minimize this, open VMware. Okay, what did we create? We created Test Windows Server 2019. Now we will go configure our domain controller. We'll configure some policies, some users, and just take a general look at Active Directory. So let's log into domain controller. Right, Control Alt Delete to unlock. Password. Let's full screen this as well. Pin this for easier navigation between VMs. Alright, so we are here on our Server Manager dashboard. Now let's go to Tools. Click on Active Directory Users and Computers. We will click on marvel.local. Now we can see the different OUs, the different organizational units, if you remember that from session 1, right? So we have the built-in computers, domain controllers. Well, right now we have not domain joined any computers, right? So there are no items to show in this view. So users. So we are quickly going to create a new group. Actually, a new organizational unit. We'll name it groups. Okay. And now the entire purpose of this is to transfer all these other users from user OU to the groups OU. Click on yes. We will just keep, we will just keep administrator and guest in the users OU. Alright. So the down arrow on this guest user means that the account is disabled. So now we have only kept administrator and guest users under the users area, and rest we have put them in the group, right? So let's click on administrator. So an administrator, you can see what are the OUs that, or the domain services that the administrator user is a member of. You can see that it's part of domain admins, domain user. So we will actually be creating a couple of domain user accounts, domain admin, and a service account as well. So a domain user is nothing but any user that is able to log into the domain, alright? So you can take a look at a guest account member of as well. So none of all those things that appeared in administrator. So now let's move forward and create a few domain users, and maybe we can create a domain admin account. Alright, so let's start with right click, new user. We will name him Frank Castle, and we need to follow a naming schema. Alright, so here we will follow a naming schema of the first letter of the first name and the entire of the last name. So F Castle in this case. Click on next. Let's give him a password. Confirm it. Let's click on password never expires. Alright, click on next. Finish. Okay, so we have created one user. Now let's create an admin user. So we can just directly right click on administrator and click on copy. And we are going to name the admin user Tony Stark. T Stark. Click on next. Give him a password. Maybe you could give him a more complicated password because he's an administrator. Click on finish. Alright. Let's create another domain user. So we will just click on Frank Castle and hit copy. Again, let's call him Peter Parker. Naming schema P Parker, click on next, give him a password, click on next and finish. Alright, so you can see that the member of details, so Peter Parker is the domain user, so he's going to be able to log into the domain, and since we copied him from Frank Castle, we can expect the same out of Frank Castle. Alright, perfect. And Tony Stark as a post has all the administrative access. He's a part of domain admins, he's a part of domain users, schema admins, etc, etc. Alright, so we have done this. Now let's just create one more user. So let's click on Tony Stark, right click on Tony Stark, give copy, and this will be a service account. Alright, so let's give it a name of SQL service, and the name of SQL service as well. Okay, click on next, give it a password, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a different password just in case. Click on next, finish. Windows cannot set the passwords for SQL because the password does not meet the password policy. Alright, it is too bad of a password to give. I'm sorry, that's bad on my end. Let's try this password. Yes, alright. So we have created a service account as well. Now I will tell you the reason of giving domain administrative rights to a service account. Well, it is really bad. It should not be in place for the first fact, but almost all the pen tests that, not all, but almost a majority of the pen tests that are performed, it is found that a service account has domain admin privileges. So we will perform certain attacks that correspond to abusing those features. Now let's just open SQL servers, and you know what, in the description I'm just going to write the password is password1@q. Right, we will apply it and click OK. So the reason for doing this is most of these times admin of the service account thinks that information stored in the service account is very private to himself or herself, but that is not the case. So let's see how we will be able to abuse all that in the future. Okay, so let's set up a file share quickly. So we can give okay, what has happened? Oh, I did not close a dialog box, and I was not able to close this because of that. You know what, just minimize it. Alright, let's set up a file share. Click on File and Storage Services. Now we will click on Shares, Tasks, New Share, SMB Share Quick is okay. Click on Next. Next, we will name the share Hack Me. Alright, next, next, next again, and we'll click on create. So we have also enabled a file share. Now why did we do this, right? So most of the domain controllers have file shares. And the second purpose of doing this is we want to open up our port 139 and 445 to perform SMB related attacks. If you don't know what SMB is, it is a protocol that is used for file sharing in short. So the protocol runs upon ports of 139 and 445 normally. Okay, so a couple of more things that we can add. Now let's open our command prompt. We will run as administrator. Okay, so now we are going to create a service principal name. Now we do not have to know about a service principal name just yet, but just know that we are setting this up to learn about an attack named Kerber roasting. So let's get started with creating a service principal name, or let's call it SPN. So we'll set a SQL service and then attack the SQL service. All right. So we are going to set up an SPN for that. So set SPN minus A. If you remember, my domain controller's name is hydra_dc. Give slash SQL service, or if you've given another name, go ahead and put that. Dot marvel dot local. Let's open it at port some 60,111 space marvel slash SQL service. Alright, so this creates a SPN. Alright, let's verify it yet again. So set SPN minus T marvel dot local minus Q wildcard slash wildcard, and we can see that SPN record found and then hydra_dc. So yes, it is in place. Now another thing that we have to do is change our group policies. So go to star, run group policy management as an administrator. Click on this forest marvel.local, go to domains. Alright, click on marvel.local. So let's right click on marvel.local, and we want to create a GPO in this domain. Alright, and we will name this GPO disable Windows Defender. Click on OK. Alright, so you must be wondering, why are we disabling Windows Defender? So let me tell you right away. There are multiple videos out there that teach you antivirus evasion and bypassing. That's great. But the rate at which these techniques change, the rate at which antivirus techniques are able to catch alerts, it's just enormously fast, and the technology needs to be updated. So let's say I'm going to enable in my antivirus and show you a technique today, and later on a video is being watched after a year or something. It is not going to exist, right? So the more focus is going to be given towards the foundation of the attack. So once the foundation of the attack is learned, I will let the viewer have the choice of going and researching on the AV bypassing techniques as the time changes. Alright, so that's why we are going to disable Windows Defender. So we will right click. Okay, what have we got here? Close it. Right click. Click on edit. Click on computer configuration. Go to policies, administrative templates. Wait, let me just full screen this because a lot of text is getting hidden. Go to Windows components, and down you must be seeing Windows Defender Antivirus. Here it is. Now we will click on that. Double click on turn off, enable, click on apply, and OK. So we have now successfully done the configuration settings on our domain controller. Now we will move to the third and the final part of the video, which is join our user machines to our domain. So we will have them domain joined, and everything that is set up on the domain controller is effective on the users that have joined to the domain, right? So for example, we have turned off Windows Defender Antivirus. So every user that is domain joined to the marvel.local domain is going to not have the Windows Defender enabled on them. So now let's move on to the third part of the session. We will now join our user machines to the domain. So the idea here is, again, I will run a setup for one machine. You can do it for the other machine in the exact same way. Alright, so let's go to Frank Castle again. Windows 10 x64. Okay. So right away, let's go first create our file share. So we can go here. You want to go to this PC. You want to go to C drive, create a folder, name it share. Right click, click properties, go to sharing, click on share. We want to share everything. And we will say yes, turn on network discovery and file sharing for all public networks. And click on done. Alright, with that out of the way, let's go to the Windows server for a second here. Our domain controller. And what we want to do is we want to get the IP address of our domain controller. So cmd ipconfig, get the IP address, copy it, move back to Frank Castle's machine. Now right click on network access, open network and settings, click on change adapter options. Alright, right click on Ethernet 0, go to properties. Let's find IPv4. Oh, here it is. Double click that. Let the upper block remain by default, whatever it is. We will just change the DNS server address to our domain controller's IP address. Click on OK. Click on OK. And we're good to go with that part. Now, go to your start menu and type access, work or school. Click on connect. Click on join this device to a local Active Directory domain. And what is our domain name? marvel.local. Right, click on next. We will give the administrator privileges. Click on OK. We'll skip this feature for now. Alright, let's restart it. So once this restarts, we are going to log in as fcastle and not our local user Frank Castle. Right, let's go ahead and check if we're able to log in as fcastle. So yes, we are able to log in as Frank Castle. Let's just give a minute for the machine to set up. Alright, so now we know we are able to log in as fcastle. So let's sign out of Frank Castles. And let's sign in back into the same machine as Marvel administrator. Alright, why do we log in as the administrator? Now, so we want to create Frank Castle, a local admin on this machine. In a similar manner, the other user machine that is going to be set up, you will be making Peter Parker a local admin of the same machine or whatever Marvel character that you have set it up to. Alright, so let's just discuss what are we going to do ahead. So we will go to Spider-Man's machine, or in your case, it could be any second user machine, and we will enable Frank Castle to be an admin there as well. All right. So why are we doing this? Why are we making Frank Castle a local admin on the Spider-Man machine, right? So this is just to demonstrate a couple of attacks that we can perform where there is usage of a local admin on multiple machines, right? So that is the purpose of setting one user to be local admin on two user machines. So let's right click on start, click on computer management, local users and groups, click on groups, go to administrators, and we want to add Frank Castle, right? So F Castle, we will check name, Frank Castle, perfect, click on OK, apply, OK. So I will pause. Actually, you know what? Let's just check if F Castle has been added. Perfect. All right. So you can pause the video here. Go set up your other machine if you want to, or if you can. I understand because some users configurations do not support two user machines running at a time. So that's fine. You can follow along for those attacks that require two user machines. I suggest that you pause the video here, go set up your other machine. You can call it Spider-Man's machine like I did, or you can do your favorite Marvel character and set it up the same way we set up Frank Castle. All right. So I have already set up my machine, so I will show you. All right, Windows user 2. That is the machine, I'm guessing, because it was done quite a while back. So again, over here we are going to be logging in into the Spider-Man machine, and we will set Frank Castle to be the local admin in Spider-Man machine as well. Yes, this is indeed the machine. All right, so click on other user, log in as admin. Oh, my bad. Wait, what if I can spell administrator? Okay, so first things first, let's make sure that you have created the share folder in the C drive. Perfect, I have created it, so that's out of the way. Now we will go ahead and make Frank Castle the local admin. Computer management, local users and groups, click on groups, click on administrators, and you can see here that I have made a couple of other users the local admin onto my Peter Parker machine. So you know the procedure to add someone as the local admin for the machine, right? So make sure Frank Castle is the local admin on your second user's machine as well. So with that done, we will finally be able to say that, hey, we have domain joined our user machines to the domain controller. And let's go check if that's done. So where is my domain controller? Right, it is here. So now let's see what our Active Directory looks like, right? So we're here back to our server management dashboard. Go to tools. Actually, I don't think we have closed Active Directory users and computers. So I'm just gonna come here, click on computers, give a refresh. Alright, so you can see the Punisher machine is domain joined, and this is a domain controller to which I have not joined the Spider-Man machine because that is a different domain controller. So, but this is the procedure. If you have done and everything as followed the way I have displayed it, then yes, you should be getting Peter Parker's machine here as well. Perfect. So you can see that Spider-Man machine and Punisher machine both would have been domain joined, and our Active Directory is now set. We can go ahead and go about attacking our Active Directory in the next stages. Thank you.